89.7 KLSFM. My name is Richard Harris. You know, the funny thing about trying to film a radio show, sometimes things happen. As my camera just fell, but I picked it up and you didn't even know it happened. My next segment in this show is going to upset some people. Maybe it won't, but that's okay. I want to talk about Manny Pacquiao. Manny Pacquiao is supposedly the baddest man on this planet right now. He destroys everyone who fights him. He sends fighters into retirement because of his ability to knock people out and dismantle their faces. He has defeated icons in this sport. Oscar De La Hoya. I mean, Ricky Hatton may not be an icon, but, you know, to people over in England, he's a pretty big deal. People from Manchester. And then, of course, last weekend, what he did to Sugar Shane Mosley. I love Sugar Shane Mosley. Sugar Shane Mosley is one of my favorite boxers. He has speed. He has flair. He just reminded me so much of Sugar Ray Leonard. But the difference between the fighters today and the fighters when I was growing up as a kid is the fighters when I was growing up as a kid, when they lost, they got knocked out, they lived to fight another day. It never changed the way they became. It never changed the way they fought. It just made them work harder. I remember when Sugar Ray Leonard lost to Roberto Duran. I was shocked that he lost to Duran. And yeah, he got out-pointed, he got out-hit. He seemed like he was scared because of Duran's nickname, the Hand of Stone. But in the rematch, he beat the snot out of Duran. And he fought unbelievably well against Hagler. He, defeated Tommy Hearns probably in 2 out of 3 fights. I thought Hearns won one of them. But his loss did not affect the way he fought. And I got to this discussion with a gentleman a few years ago about boxers, and once they get knocked out and once they taste defeat, how this generation of boxing, a lot of the fighters just aren't the same. When Vernon Forrest knocked Sugar Shane Mosley's butt on the ground, Sugar Shane Mosley hasn't been the same fighter since. Same thing with Oscar De La Hoya. When De La Hoya, yeah, he's fought some fighters who may be faster than he. But after he tasted defeat, he wasn't the same fighter. Manny Pacquiao is a throwback. Pacquiao's not undefeated. I mean, Marco Antonio Barrera gave him a whooping. Now, granted, they had a couple great fights that anyone could have flipped a coin and picked a winner. But obviously there's a game plan in beating this man. And I'm not trying to disrespect Pacquiao's achievements because you fight who's in front of you. But the reality is, who's he really beaten? The only fight that we want to see him fight, well, there's 2 now because my guy from Argentina is the guy he should be fighting. Floyd Mayweather is a great player, is a great fighter as well. But Mayweather's got legal problems, and Mayweather's only concern right now, it seems, is going to the book in Vegas and putting down $50,000 on a game or a Super Bowl or whatever and collecting winning tickets. Now, the gentleman from Argentina, his name skips me, his last name. I know his first name is Sergio. I can't remember his last name. And if you remember his name, you can call on the show and please tell me. I saw the fight with him a few weeks ago, and I was talking about how great a fighter he is. But he's got 2 losses as well. And he's the only fight right now that anyone wants to see Mr. Pacquiao take on. Andre Berto is a good fighter. The fight he just had recently where he lost, even though he survived 2 knockdowns and then proceeded to knock the guy down twice himself, it was cool. I mean, Cotto already fought Pacquiao and just got picked apart. There really is only 2 fights left for this man. Unless there's some, young up-and-coming fighter that no one knows that Pacquiao, will struggle with. But he's just too fast, he's just too determined, and he's just too disciplined. Do I think he's the greatest fighter of this generation? No. Do I think that he's worth paying $70 to watch a fight? No. But I've done it a couple of times like an idiot. the fight we want to see him have is never going to happen. And that's to me sad, because if you think about the greats in this sport, every great fighter in this sport has had somebody who they had to fight for legitimacy. Even Roy Jones. I mean, when Roy Jones was awesome, he's a perfect example. When Tarver knocked him out, Roy Jones hasn't been the same. Roy Jones was going into fights with microphones attached to his shorts. He was playing basketball games before fights. He was, talking to the press row as he's pummeling his opponent. And then Tarver just caught him once, and Roy Jones hasn't been the same since. And don't even get me going on the heavyweights. The Klitschko's, they're a joke. Either they get hurt in training, they get hurt in fights. They don't deserve to be the heavyweight champion of the world. And it's sad, because we always used to think the heavyweight champion was the baddest man on the planet. That's because of what Mike Tyson and Muhammad Ali and Larry Holmes would do to their opponents. Evander Holyfield as well. And it's a shame that a guy who started out in like the 115 pound range, only weighs 147 to 150 pounds, is the most important person in one sport. And if he retired, oh my goodness, what would boxing do? I think he's killed boxing, because if he's not fighting, no one's worth watching. I mean, I see that Bernard Hopkins is about to fight again. We're going to talk about Hopkins in a minute. I mean, Bernard Hopkins is my age. I'm 43 years old. You want to pay to see me fight? Won't be pretty. I just think Pacquiao's just in the right place at the right time, And that happens in sports. Roger Federer had that run in tennis where he just beat up on everybody. And no one could touch him, except for on clay. And now people have caught up to him, and maybe that's going to happen with Pacquiao. Maybe he'll have this run for a little bit, a little while longer, and somebody will finally get him. Sometimes it's great to watch. Mike Tyson had that run for a while in the heavyweight division, where he just dismantled everyone, and then finally he met his Buster Douglas. I just don't see it happen with Pacquiao, because, I mean, he's a politician. He's running his country. He ain't got time to wait around to be beaten. He is great. I will give him credit for being great. And I'm going to give him credit for doing what he's supposed to do, which is taking care of the people who are in front of him. But the reality is, he's been very lucky that he's fought some of these guys at the end of their careers. I'm not saying he wouldn't have beaten De La Hoya, or he wouldn't have beaten Mosley, or he wouldn't have beaten Margarito or Cotto, because he did. They're the young ones coming to him. But until he fights Mayweather, I don't think he's the best fighter on the planet. But I think I'm a pretty good sports broadcaster. And I thank you for listening to my show on 89.7 KLAS FM. I'll be back after this.
Hey, buddy, me job hunting on the internet, huh? Well, we got hot jobs, cool jobs, jobs that are absolute monsters. Just click on our homepage. Come on, click!
Hey, where are all the jobs?
Tired of internet job sites?